Hey there, how you doing? So we are post Mars and Uranus and their exact conjunction, but as you'll see in this forecast, it's still playing into the astrology right now. And one of the things that I've noticed the most over this last week, and in fact, I just had a friend come round and also confirm the same, that a lot of emotions really came to the fore last week. I found myself a few times bursting into tears, and it felt like I was cleansing myself of years worth of shame or embarrassment, like stuff from childhood just came up, welled up, and came out. I've noticed this, been talking about this within my community. And like I say, through friends, it seems to be a lot that's being stirred up at the moment. Now, absolutely, Mars and Uranus can really stir things up so that we make a clear decision about what we need. Mars is very survival based, and he will absolutely help us get those. And I say thoughts because he's in Gemini right now. So he's absolutely going to help us connect into thoughts that allow us to take clear action. And Uranus, who also in this position is helping us find original thoughts, new thoughts that might create some chaos for us, thoughts that might help us discover things and recover things. To me, this is a really big energy. Just to share a little bit of sort of private historical astrology, if you're in your early to mid 40s, you're most likely either coming into the time of your Uranus opposition, where Uranus is currently opposing wherever it was at the time, place, and date of your birth. When that came up as well, I noticed there was a lot of historical stuff that came up. It suddenly wells up, takes you by surprise, and then it's like Pandora's box. It comes out, and then boom, you've got a whole heap of things to manage and to make sense of. So that's the first thing I think as we're coming into this week ahead from the 6th to the 12th. There's a lot that we might need to make sense of. And a lot of it might be historical, given that Taurus is quite a slow and steady sign, and Uranus and Mars have just been in here. You may find that the patterns that are coming up right now are ones that have been long and have been holding us back for quite some time. And so this is a very sort of zippy and zany new energy. Also, with Chiron now in Taurus, it's encouraging us to heal the things that take time to heal. I don't know about you, but I would say from April 2018 up until very recently, when Chiron was in the sign of Aries, everything felt very now. There was almost like a time deficit. The time appeared, from my perspective, to actually speed up. And so healing had to be done now, quickly. This is the shortcut. This is the new healing technique, which will obliterate blah, blah, blah. And all of these amazing claims. And now I think Chiron's in Taurus, we recognize we can't necessarily just make that change straight away. Maybe the healing that we do consider might be considered. And let's do it in a way that's not hasty and trying to manage everything into a tight little package box. That's really ambitious, and we're human and we're messy. And sometimes our human mess just grows, and it seems almost inhumane to expect us to pack up our emotions, put them in a box, and just manage them from afar. So I really think with Chiron in Taurus, we are exploring our bodies, exploring ourselves from a whole new way, slowly, gracefully, beautifully. There's an invitation to slow right down. And then with Uranus and Mars in Gemini, our thinking around it could absolutely be clear, concise, and quite shocking. Now, this is where it gets exciting, because we've got Venus that's heading into Virgo. She's doing that on the 9th, which is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So on Thursday the 9th, Venus is going to head into Virgo. Now, when she does that, if you can actually see on the 10th, she's going to make an exact trine with Chiron. Then, and at that time, Chiron's already making an exact sextile to the North Node. Obviously, I'd have to go ahead a couple of slides to see that. But Chiron is coming into that sort of sextile with the North Node. And then Venus is also coming into an opposition with the North Node and a conjunction with South Node. Now, Let me explain that a little bit rather than just talk this astrological jargon. What does all that mean? Venus is coming into Virgo, and she does this every year around this, not always the same time, but she definitely comes into Virgo very regularly. To me, Venus is a planet that rules our relationships to our body, our beauty, our feeling good about ourselves, our money, our ability to receive and get our needs met. That's a really important one. Our pleasure and our values are really important. And Venus, funnily enough, does actually rule Taurus and Libra. Chiron has a natural kind of a sort of merged, not a merged energy, but he has an understanding of Venus right now because he's working in Venus's sign. So everything to do with beauty and pleasure and values and our feeling good in our bodies and feeling into receptivity, feeling into flow, all of that is really Venus's work right now. Now she's going into Virgo. Virgo is a very responsible sign. It does like metrics. It does like to be organized. It does like to think things through and try to make things work. So I actually think as Venus comes into Virgo, we're going to have a very sort of responsible Venus. She's not going to be really flippant. She's not necessarily going to be all gaudy in her makeup and in her hair care and stuff. She's going to be very earthy, very considered, very discerning. She's going to be looking to simplify things and check in with what works. So what is working in your beauty regime? What is working with your health right now? How can you improve it? Now, I will say she doesn't want to rush anything right now, especially seeing as she's working with Chiron, and Chiron is in the ultimate of go slow signs. He's in Taurus. So there's this lovely beauty coming out that I see between Venus and Chiron. In fact, this is the chart for Monday the 6th. You can already see that Venus is already in a trine with Chiron. So this is something that's coming in from the start of the week, and it's going to perfect. It's going to perfect on Friday the 10th. And on the 9th, that's Thursday the 9th, Venus going into Virgo is absolutely going to bring this in so much more. So my first bit of advice in terms of planning, if you're planning for yourself a tasty treat that's going to help you feel good, plan it for Thursday or Friday. Yeah, so if you wait to have your tasty treats around Thursday or Friday, you'll be getting the maximum of refreshment, maximum of regeneration, and all of those amazing kind of replenishments, things that are coming back to you. So I think Venus going into Virgo and the trine with Chiron, these are going to work very beautifully. Now, let's also add in what happens when Chiron is exact in that sextile to the North Node, and also when Venus is exact in the opposition to the North Node. In fact, Venus is going to be nestled very comfortably with the South Node. Now, this gives me a bit of a clue as to what might be coming up, because the South Node is showing skills and behaviors and experiences that we've already attained, that maybe we've already completed or have already worked on or already understand. And so this Virgo energy, we do understand it quite well, like this feeling of, I need to improve, I need to make things work, I need to fix things, I need to be of service in some way, i.e., it's like the antithesis of being selfish. Virgo absolutely wants things to be used by people and encouraged. Virgo is a very faithful helper, very virtuous in many respects. And Virgo really wants things to be clean and pure and, yeah, to give you a kind of sparkly sense of yourself inside. In Virgo the Virgin, you can see why it's called Virgo the Virgin. So there's this sense of purity. So what I would say here, with Venus coming into her conjunction with the South Node, we're reminded to remember how great we felt. Remember what has always helped us. Remember what has helped us to heal. And remember what we already know. If you've got a condition, obviously I'm not giving you medical advice here or financial advice, just to be really clear, even though Venus is working with our beauty and our health in our body, and also that feeling of wealth and abundance, she can absolutely help us with. But this is asking you to remember what has worked. Now, obviously, if you've got serious illness, or something going on, you should always seek professional advice. I'm saying that to cover my ass, by the way. But you might also ask them, if you're asking for advice, look, so many years ago, this is when I was actually healthy in this, or this is when I was wealthy in this, or this is when I got it right. This is when I had my balance. And I knew that because I felt great. So this is asking you to remember, when did you feel good? When did you receive stuff? When did you get help? When did you get support? Because all of these old times when you felt supported and loved and nourished and replenished and like you had more than enough, any time that you can recall when you felt like, that's giving you a clue as to what you might need right now. With Chiron in a sextile to the North Node, this is reminding me he's also going to be in a trine to the South Node. To me, there's a knowledge that we have grown from the past. And in fact, it's the past that is informing us. And right now we're ready to step into the next little part of our healing journey. Now, it doesn't have to be that you're going to make a massive leap from where you are right now to complete awakening and self-trust. You may already be there, and kudos to you if you already are. But you might be about to take a little step forwards, maybe just go a bit kinder on yourself, be a bit easier with yourself. It might be that you just have one mantra that you're going to celebrate yourself with. It might be, I am beautiful, or I'm magnificent, or something that when you say it, just 3 little words, I'm enough. And I don't know what yours will be, but just something very simple that might take years to feel any real difference from. But it's like slow healing, a slow considered step forwards. Years ago, I lived in Bali, and I remember going to Sanskrit, just these lovely these singing circles where I was singing in kirtan circles. And so we were singing mantra in Sanskrit, and it was just such a beautiful experience. And so I kept those mantras going all the time. I'd be on my moped going to the market and singing them to myself. I didn't really care what people thought, and nobody knew me. I was singing them out loud like a crazy hippie. But anyway, there are a couple that really stuck with me. And one of them was about motherhood. I was single. I really wanted to be a mum one day, and I just couldn't see that happening. And I had a mantra, a really short mantra about motherhood. And I said it every day, many times. I made a song around it, a really simple step. And I said it without fault every day, even though for the first 6 weeks of saying it, I felt like a complete fraud. I kept thinking, how am I saying this again and again in a song? Because it's not true, and it's never going to be true. And I had to really battle my mind, like battle the reality. The funny thing is, around about 6 weeks of having said this, something changed. All of a sudden, I was singing the same words as I'd always sung. And as I was singing, I had this really strong knowledge that it was true, that this was going to happen. And nothing externally had changed, but something internally had changed and shifted. And that was the most important part of this whole story. Is right now, there's most likely a slow healing technique, maybe one that you've known about for years, that you might have poo-hooed because it just seems so simple that you've ignored it and thought, don't need that. Well, maybe it's time to pull it out. Whatever that small, slow healing step is, it could be the thing that, if done with reverence, done with a sort of feeling of gratitude and grace and simplicity and awareness and an open heart, that this is going to change things. Chiron in a sextile to the North Node is showing we do need to take a step, and we do need to get busy with it, but that it's also harmonious. I always find with sextiles and trines that in particular with sextiles, that once we get on that path, there's usually a leap forwards. Once we put a little bit of effort in, that something meets us along our path. It's like life lifts up, faces us, sees our open heart and our effort, and all of a sudden something comes in. So I'm just putting it to you that in these times of simplicity, with Chiron in Taurus, Venus going into Virgo, this is a time not to overcomplicate things. Now, as you can see, both of Venus and Chiron are going to be working with the nodes, but what else is working with the nodes? So we've still got Mars and Uranus. And if you have listened into any of my recent videos, you'll know that Mars and Uranus, nestled right in between the nodes, is really suggesting that we're coming to a time now where We're ready to let go of a way of being in the past so that we can connect to the future, because all the time we're connecting to these old patterns and habits, especially ones that make no sense, and especially ones that pull us down and don't simplify or make our life easier. It's stopping us from moving forwards. And so I still think that Mars and Uranus are absolutely at this tension point. Once we get that internal kindness running in our own script, a kindness to ourselves, I think the potential to make a sudden discovery, one of those discoveries that might have you actually bursting into tears with the knowledge of, wow, something has just awoken in me. If you have felt in recent days or weeks or months that something comes up and you have a cry about it, or something happens in your body, so you get a feeling of a somatic release of some sort. So if you're getting something coming up, it's only coming up because the ground is fresh, the time is right. And sometimes we need to just give ourselves some space for that knowledge to well up in us. We give ourselves some space, we give ourselves some kindness, all of a sudden something rushes up. And that's what I'm seeing with Mars and Uranus. And I don't think it's going to just rush up in, but it could just rush up in one go. This is the kind of thing that could bring about full awakenings. I don't know. I know a few people that have had awakenings. I'm not suggesting that you hold out for a full awakening experiences. I'm not like guaranteeing anything. This is just to help you on your journey. But I do think that you might get these small spurts of rapid realization. You might just hear yourself, you might just hear your body talk for a moment, like this tiny little inaudible whisper. And you hear it because you created space. And in that moment, you're like, oh, I haven't been listening in, or I've been horribly unkind to myself, or, oh my God, I've held this view, which means I must think this of myself. So it's like these moments of things like clarity, it's welling up. And so I think it starts with kindness. That's what I'm here to share with you. I really think it starts with kindness. But there's one more step that I really need, two more things actually that I need to put into this. So on Monday, the 6th, we've also got the Sun in a square to Saturn. Now, this is the all-time being mean to ourselves aspect, because the Sun really represents our personality and our vitality and where we feel confident in ourselves. The Sun is there to help us absolutely feel optimistic and happy in ourselves, and that we have enough life force to get through the day. So the Sun here is in Cancer, and the Sun in during the sign of Cancer absolutely is really wanting to be nourishing and helpful and protective of self as well. The Sun is in a great sign actually for you to gently look after yourself and lavish some beautiful healing on yourself. The Sun is really working beautifully. In particular, as Venus goes further in the sign of Virgo, we're going to have a lovely sextile between these two. I think that would be really lovely. So the Sun is really there for us, but we've got Saturn in the sign of Aries. Now, Saturn in Aries is a bit crabby. He's very judgmental. Some might say he's a bit cruel. Is he cruel or not? He doesn't want to faff around. He wants to get heard. He, like Saturn is responsible, wants to absolutely make sure that he can be quite bossy. Saturn is a bossy parent in our ear. Saturn in Aries is the nasty side of your parents shouting in your ear, or it's you being really cruel to yourself. So here with this square that we've all got going on, this square is landing somewhere in our charts. Now, if you've got a difficult Sun and Saturn aspect in your birth charts, you'll be doubly feeling this because there's a sort of resonant, repeatable frequency going on. But with the Sun and Saturn in a square right now, we can all tune into this if we wanted to, but it's showing us where we might get tired from overextending. Saturn in Aries cracks the whip and we end up doing stuff. We end up agreeing to do more and more. And we think, yeah, I can do it. I can totally do it. I'm really tough and strong, which absolutely Saturn in Aries is exemplifying. He's really wanting us to push ourselves so we go further than we've gone before. Whereas The sun in Cancer really can tune into the body and the feelings and recognize that we might be a little bit tired. We've been overextending ourselves, and that will be a problem if we carry on overextending ourselves. We'll get more and more tired. So it could be a real time of burnout and breakthrough, hopefully. We've also got like a reality check. Saturn is slapping us across the face and saying, wake up, look at this. And then the sun's, oh God, why did you have to say that? I was quite happy in my own space before then. And so there's this sort of discomfort where we're recognizing our limits. Now, on the positive, if this doesn't feel like it's personal, if you're able to talk to yourself where you're not punishing yourself, and I think this is quite a punishing aspect, FYI, if you can just take this, like if you hear yourself being punishing in your language, that's your cue to say, oh, how can I take this in a non-personal way? How can I see Saturn's good intent here? What do I need to simplify so that I can heal what's not working? And if we were to put ourselves through that kind of rigorous but gentle questioning, then I think there really is a change coming up for each of us, change in consciousness. So I'm seeing that there is a pattern, and it's being each of these patterns, whether it's the Chiron and Venus nodal pattern, whether it's the Uranus Mars nodal pattern, or whether it's the Saturn and Sun square pattern, each of these is helping us to arrive at something that's not quite working right now, but is ready to shift. Venus and Chiron, I think, are helping us to heal with kindness, loving kindness. It's a beautiful meditation right now in loving kindness. Sun and Saturn is showing us where we're pushing ourselves too hard, and Mars and Uranus are showing us where we're absolutely ready to lift out of a pattern and change our consciousness. That much really appears true to me. Now, the final thing I want to share is through this week, we've got the moon going into Aries, then going into Taurus on the 8th, then going into Gemini on the 10th, and then finally into Cancer on the 12th. To me, that is taking us through every element. We're going through every quadruplicity. So in Aries, this is asking us to act on our feelings and to really feel the process we're going through. When the moon goes into Taurus on the 8th, it's asking us to ground and to rest and to enjoy ourselves a little bit. There's some lovely tastes and textures in the sign of Taurus. When the moon goes into Gemini, we're being asked to really think about what we've learned over the last couple of moon cycles. And then finally, when it goes into Cancer, we're being asked to feel and then put our emotions to it. And then when we move into the following week and we've got the new moon in Cancer, that's when I think we can absolutely implement our new healing goals and really feel like we can integrate things. So this is a really interesting time. I do think there's going to be some massive breakthroughs. If you have been through some tears over the last few weeks, in particular last week, that's the week that I've heard about lots of these outpourings and also felt them myself, then just know we're all doing this together right now. It really does feel like quite a tender time with lots of tender new beginnings. But anyway, wishing you so much love and luck. I hope this forecast has been helpful. If I can be of any help, by the way, feel free to book yourself in for a forecast. All of my details are below, and you can book directly into my Calendly calendar, which is online. Also, I have a community. Now, I go much deeper into these forecasts in my community. So there's an extra 5 free forecasts that you could get if you were to join my community. It is on the school platform, which is SKOOL. So if you want to go there, it's www.school, that's SKOOL.com/feelgood astrology. But anyway, sending you loads of love. Have a brilliant week ahead and catch up with you soon. Bye for now.